Welcome everybody. My name is Ethan Bass, and I'm talking today about the transition from students that are graduating, how to keep them around as successful alumni mentors, and how to eventually start thinking about them as becoming coaches. So I was talking to a couple individuals earlier today. I was like, "Hey guys, had a great season," and they're like, "Oh, thank you, but all the seniors are leaving, so we're really bummed about that." No, don't be bummed about that. Come to my session. They did. It's okay. But it's going to be mostly based off of my personal story, as well as the story of two alumni mentors that I currently have, one of which was on Equilibrium. So next slide.
I didn't know you were a speaker to that.
So my story is I started in FLL in 2007 when I was 8 years old. My friends and I founded an FTC team in 2011 when I was 12 years old, the Tuxedo Pandas FTC team 4924. When I started driving myself in 2015, I kind of gave myself a promotion on the FTC side because I was focusing more on FRC. But I would still go to outreach events, I would still go to meetings when I could. But at competitions, I wouldn't talk to judges, I wouldn't put my hand on the robot, I would drive. In 2017, I graduated high school. I'm drinking a soda can that I snuck into the ceremony. But I started college at Virginia Tech, and that was close enough that I could still take the bus or bike to the meetings on Fridays and on the weekends. In 2019, our head coach suddenly retired. And I mean, this was right after the closing ceremony of the World Championship. He said, "I'm out. My daughter's graduating to FRC. Most of the team's graduating to FRC. Good luck." I'll talk about a little bit on the next slide, but I became the head coach of FTC team 4924, the Red Beard Pandas, when I was in college, 20 years old, before I was legally able to drink, but I'm still coaching to this day. So why me? Why was I able to take on this role? Why was I able to fill those shoes? And part of it is being involved in FIRST for 12 years, being surrounded by gracious professionals, and getting to see the success stories of other teams, getting to understand what this community is about. And so I didn't get to attend Shelley's talk earlier, but bringing the fun back into it. But also in high school, I was doing complementary activities that reinforced leadership, self-discipline, and taking on an initiative. So that was what led me to be an Eagle Scout, and I did March Band for 4 years. When I was a student on the team, it kind of became a tradition for me to give speeches before a competition, kind of give a direction for the day, give goals for a specific competition. I was always bringing new ideas to the team. I was trying to push the envelope, try to say, what have we never done before? What has nobody ever done before? How can we do this different? How can we advance ourselves? Whenever I was on the drive team, I didn't like to be holding the controller and focusing on our robot. I like to be looking over the whole field and making the big picture calls. And because I was an older student, it became normal for me to kind of train up new members. We had new members come every year. I would help get them up to speed, tell them, how we work, what our attitude was, and all that. But the story that I tell everybody is that I sent the right email at the right time. In the same breath that our head coach retired, he said, "By the way, you can't meet the current location you meet at. Don't worry, I already arranged a new location to meet." So I tell you this story because this is not how you should transition to your next coach. So the email that I sent was to the team, and I said, "Guys, I'm going to be there this weekend. I'd love some help from you all. Here's my priority list of what I want to move and how." And the head coach was like, "Wow, that was a really great way to take charge there." And that's what led to the conversation that became how I became the head coach. I would not recommend it. Go for it. There we go. So there's two parts in once somebody graduates, how do you keep them close but not too close? So in terms of keeping them close, if they can volunteer at competitions, that's a huge way to have them stay involved. Almost no matter where they go after high school, there's probably going to be competitions nearby. If they can volunteer, that can let them see other teams in a new way that maybe they didn't get to when they were a student. They can stay involved and see the competitions. If they can virtually or physically attend meetings, that's always a bonus. Even if they're going away for college, but they come back during Thanksgiving and Christmas break, that's usually crunch time for at least FTC anyway. So if they could just come in and give their input every now and then, it could be tremendously helpful. If you as a coach currently can give them special mentor projects that can help, maybe not something directly tied to this season's robot, but something that helps out the team as a whole. So like building shelves or making a database or a specific programming project that can help year after year and can allow them a little bit more flexibility, but they can still help out. But you don't want your student to be too closely involved. So I say you have to literally and physically pull them from this kids table. So at my meetings, we always have a section of the meeting dedicated to the students go off and have snack time. The adults stay back and talk to each other. And the students that just graduate, they want to go hang out with their friends. They want to keep cracking jokes, but we have to pull them in and say, you're an adult now, let them have this time. And they have to really learn how to take their hands off the robot. They're going to want to get in there and fix everything, but they need to learn how to offer advice and insight. And so I took this off of a fortune cookie, but a mentor is somebody whose hindsight can become your foresight. So that's how mentors and alumni can help, is by sharing their stories. So once you've got a fairly involved mentor and you want to start thinking, how do I prepare this person to become a coach, maybe of your team, maybe of a completely different team? What do they need to know? A lot of it is what you do as a coach behind the scenes, they don't ever get to see. It can help if you get them on the first Chesapeake email list, so that they know a lot about the wonderful programs like today and registering competitions and all the other sort of paperwork stuff. But what I really want to focus on is they're not going to know how to do this in terms of talking to parents and students. If somebody as young as me is stepping into a coach role, they need to know how to have difficult conversations with parents and students, how to say, I'm sorry, but you're not a good fit for the team. How when they step in, when students are bickering, maybe it's about robot things, maybe it's about something entirely outside of robots. How do you step in, peacefully settle everything for the good of the team? And just general classroom management. It's going to be hard for them to get younger students to look up to them and respect them as to what they're doing. Watch it. So if you're thinking about what will this student's style be, we'll think back to when they were a student. So if their specialty was programming, building, or outreach, they're going to want to focus on those specialties. I have an alumni mentor right now. All he did was programming. So everything looks like a nail. Everything is a programming problem. You can solve everything with programming. That's not necessarily the case. So you have to kind of make sure that they build up complementary skills or work with people who do have those complementary skills. I can almost guarantee that the first thing an alumni coach will do is whatever you told them not to do. If there's been a strategy or a particular mechanism that every year they're like, we're going to do it this year, and you have to say like, okay, maybe we're not the team for that. Maybe this isn't the year for that. That's going to be the number one thing that they're going to try to do. Maybe they succeed and prove you wrong. Maybe they fail and learn an important lesson. That's something they're going to have to do. But they're going to go about this in an entirely different way. They're not going to have industry experience or education experience. Sure, we have professionals and educators in the room. They're not going to know what project management is like. They're not going to know how to make a lesson plan. They're not going to know everything there is to know about engineering design principles, but they are going to know what an FPC competition looks like. They are going to know what it takes to win awards. They are going to know how a team is supposed to function and what makes a team successful on the whole. Go ahead. So in conclusion, maybe I'll have time to take one or two questions, but why should you start looking at students that are becoming coaches? What's the purpose? And they're going to know a lot right off the bat. So imagine just plucking some random industry professional or some random educator off the street. They're not going to know what FIRST is. They're not going to know what the competitions are. They're going to know everything there is to know about their profession, which can be helpful, but FIRST has a really steep learning curve. I was talking to people just today that are completely new to this and they have no idea what all the lingo is that we're using. But a student alumni is going to know what FIRST is. They're going to be able to jump in a little bit quicker, assuming that you all, as current coaches, are there to kind of give them a little bit of support in the things that they don't have. But overall, I really appreciate when they have the right passion. So I don't want to accuse anybody of doing this, but I hate to see it when parents especially, they're saying, I'm gonna make this team for my student, make sure my student has the best time, and it's time for my student to graduate, the team fizzles out and evaporates. I hate it, hate it, hate it. So I don't have any kids. I was too, if I did have kids, they were way too young to be in the program. But I'm not doing this so that my kid has the best time. I'm doing this so that all kids have the best time and to make sure that all students can achieve the fun that I was able to have in first. So that's my rush presentation. Thank you very much.
Do you have any thoughts on students, like on, you know, FC or RC, doesn't matter, that are seniors, how to sort of transition, help them think about sort of transitioning towards that, you know, alumni / mentor role?
Exactly. So at the start of the season, it shouldn't be a surprise to them, like, you have to approach them and say, hey, you're a senior this year. What do you want to do? What mark do you want to leave on the team? This is kind of like. So approach them and say, you know, is there anything special that you want to do about this season? You know, do they really just want to relish in it and just have one last year? Or do you want to start giving them special projects? Do you want to say, hey, plan out this specific, plan a speech to give, you know, maybe before one competition or another, and kind of gauge their interest, see if they're trying to be more of a student, or see if they're thinking about sticking around, and nudge them a little bit here and there. You can't hold a gun to their head, unfortunately, for hit is that. Yeah, did that start to answer?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So sometimes like senior project, like when I became a mentor, I had to build a pit display. So that was what I was saying. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Enjoy your sessions.